Welcome to Who Knew. We are fans of the current series of Doctor Who, and here we discuss our likes, dislikes, and insights into the modern regeneration of the show. Visit our website, whoknewpodcast.com, email us at whoknewpodcast@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter and on Facebook at Who Knew Podcast. Subscribe, review, and listen to us on iTunes and Stitcher, or our YouTube channel, youtube.com/whoknewpodcast. Today's episode is episode 13 of Season 3, Last of the Timelords. With the Doctor captured, it's up to Martha Jones to save the world from the plans of the Master. This episode is written by Russell T. Davis, directed by Colin Teague. It originally aired on the 30th of June, 2007, and was watched by 8 million viewers. Let's introduce ourselves.
Hi, this is Frank.
Hello, this is Auburn.
Hi, this is Heather.
This is Brian.
This is Josh.
And this is Eugene. I'd like to know how you guys watched this episode.
Sitting on a chair? No.
On the TV?
Through Amazon Prime streaming?
Oh,
or-
yes. I streamed it through Amazon Prime.
I'm Amazon Prime as well.
Same here.
Yeah, interesting.
Because half of us have seen an edited version, and the other half have seen the original version.
And the only place you can see the original version is on the DVDs.
Oh.
So we'll let you know what you missed.
Wow.
It's
Well then.
like Buffy the musical, What's More Worth Feeling. They did a longer episode than usual. And when they did it into syndication or sold it to other markets, they had to cut it down to be the right time frame for a regular episode.
When it first aired on the BBC, when it
So
first
this one-
aired in America, it was the edited version.
We saw the
Are
whole
you
thing.
sure that they didn't air the longer one on Amazon? Because there are no commercials for that reason.
Yes, we are sure. I have checked it.
Well, the first time I watched this episode, it must have been the full version. No, I wouldn't be able to pick out the differences, but I'm excited
yes.
to hear what they are.
Before we get to those, do you know the difference in run times? Like how much additional
It's
content?
about
It's
46
about 5 minutes.
46:33, I think, for the edited, and 51 something.
Yeah, there's a whole small subplot that they took out.
Oh, about submarines?
It's been 1 year since Martha left the Doctor and most of her family aboard the Valiant. She has returned to Britain after traveling the world to find Professor Alison Docherty. She meets a local resistance fighter, Tom Milligan, who will take her to the Professor. Martha Jones has become legendary as the one who will save the world. As they approach the facility, they see hundreds of rockets that have been built by the Master. Martha has seen thousands of rockets just like these all over the planet preparing for war. 2 Tocklefane orbs find them, but they don't seem to notice Martha, thanks to the perception filter she still wears around her neck. Tom's papers are in order, so the Tocklefane leave, and he and Martha rendezvous with Professor Docherty.
And wait.
So here is your first instance of something that's different.
Already.
Already?
Yep.
Oh.
The opening shot.
In the original version, the opening shot is from space, and it's a voiceover from like a universal galactic authoritarian voice sort of thing saying,
The Shadow Proclamation is what I always
Is
want
that-
to say.
okay.
I mean, they
That's-
don't say it, but I want to think
that's
it's
a
the Shadow
very good
Proclamation.
reasoning for it. It says like space lanes, Sol 3 is off limit.
Quarantined.
Yeah, off limits or quarantined for extinction because of what the Master is doing. And
So
then
they're
it,
saying stay away from Earth.
and then it comes into Martha landing on the beach.
With the 1 year later?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So did
So
you,
the outer space races know something really bad's happening on Earth, so they quarantine the planet and say just let them blow themselves up. I personally think it's very out of place. I don't like it.
So after seeing both versions, just as a general, do you feel like the longer one was longer just to make it longer, or you don't feel like it added to the story?
there are certain things that could go, but there's a lot that
A lot of filler?
is good. No, that's good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you
Right.
don't remember
and you
this
would
opening?
There are some
Not
that
so much.
when I was watching it on Amazon, going, did I watch were these deleted scenes that are in my memory? Most of the editing, I think, was done really well, where you wouldn't
Yes, I agree.
notice that they're missing, except there was one towards the end. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the one at the end.
Like a little jump shot.
It's a little bit of trimming the fat.
Right.
One thing that I will say from watching the Amazon version, as a whole, I thought the cold open of the previously on was very tight, and that's because as the show goes on, there's a lot of flashbacks,
Right.
Which I think worked really well. Like most of the time that we saw them, like Martha or the Master or the Doctor would get this like look of contemplation on their face, and then we'd go and see something. Sometimes we would see stuff that we even saw already in the episode, but just that cold open, which I assume was the same between both versions or similar enough, Yeah, really, really quick. Here's the main beats. I don't even think we went back to the end of the universe with the future kind or anything like that. It was just strictly the previous episode, but they told exactly what was going on very succinctly, very quick, so we could get to the main action.
Yes, I agree.
And I'll tag on to that because I had a note about it as well. This feels like it's a almost standalone episode, or could be a standalone episode, because they fill in all the stuff that's happened before because they want to wrap everything up.
I like the subtle change in Martha's character after a year when she gets off the boat and she walks up and sees Tom, and you can just see that she's don't waste my time kind of an attitude. So now she's just kind of like, and your name is? There's no chit chat. There's no, how are things in Britain? It's just, she's like, I've got a job to do. Let's start moving and deal with it.
You can see how Martha is her mother's daughter
Yeah.
at this point.
And I don't know if it was supposed to be a joke, but I took it as a joke, where we get that lower third 1 year later, and then Martha talks to Tom like it's been 365 days, like
Right.
exactly, like usually that was 1 year later is like about a year, we're not,
Right.
but
Yeah.
Martha, nails it right on the head.
And then here we get the second cut or edited out scene where Milligan's conversation with Martha about how she walked the entirety of the United States and survived the Japanese annihilation. There's a longer discussion about that.
I
They
see.
edited that down.
Because he's saying that she's the legend who did these things.
Yes.
And they establish a bit more that Martha is now a legend around the world.
Okay.
And that people know her name because of what she's doing and what she's seen and what she's survived.
They were going to have her brother Leo be on the beach, but the actor couldn't make it because of conflict, different shows.
Well, he was
about-
out hanging out with his girlfriend.
Yes.
Because Martha told him to go into hiding, the year ago. So he was supposed to have been, I think, captured. He was going to be in the slave quarters.
camps, yeah.
But he says he couldn't leave because he had to watch them be there for, his girlfriend or wife and kid. But then they said, let's just drop the whole thing, not have her talk about that. It's like, poor Leo.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Kind of got dropped flat.
He just dropped out of the storyline.
I did not miss him.
I think it's fine.
He knew to get away from family drama.
But it made it more of Martha's journey.
On the Valiant, the Master tells the Doctor that Martha is back. During the past year, the Master has forced the Jones family to work as servants on the Valiant and chained up Jack. Jack breaks out, and together with the Joneses, they try to attack the Master. But Jack dies again, and the Master nearly kills Francine. The Master recovers his screwdriver and turns it on the Doctor, aging him to his complete 900 years. He broadcasts this all over the planet as a message to Martha, but she just smiles. The Doctor is still alive. The Toclafane are supposed to be indestructible, but Martha shows Doherty readings recorded from when a lightning strike brought one of them down. As they go through the information, Doherty says she heard Martha walked all over the Earth to find a way to build a weapon. They discover the precise current of the lightning strike and use it to capture one of the Toclafane.
Whenever they say Martha walked the entirety of the United States, I keep thinking of Kung Fu and walking the earth. Kane and his solo journey.
Like a bum.
Yeah, I was not I did not watch Kung Fu, but definitely that opening guitar riff and then the guitar kind of motif that comes back a lot, like makes me feel like I've seen that. Like I don't know if that was actually the way that the show was, but I feel like I understand better that show
Yeah.
after, the
That's
music
good.
working
I
together. with
really
Martha.
liked the hand signals they were giving each other for the plan. I thought that was. It's not something you see a lot in Doctor Who. So, and considering that the Doctor was so silent at the beginning of the episode, then he gives that signal to Martha's mom. I really like that.
This is my first question about this episode, though, is why do they do this plan at all?
I rationalize it as they're just doing stuff to keep the Master interested.
And like off the scent.
The
Yeah.
Master would expect them to do something, so they have to do
Yeah,
that.
so they're going to do something.
It makes sense. It's just something I remember always wondering. Like,
Yeah, why are you wasting your
go through all
time?
that trouble if you know there's a bigger, broader plan? But
Maybe they're trying to end it sooner. Like it's just we have this. Like the bigger plan is a failsafe.
if that was the case, that would totally suck for Martha. Like, well, thanks anyway.
As a viewer,
Well, I
we
don't think the
know-
others know that. I think it's more the doc. I don't think the others knew about the final plan.
Right.
Just Martha and he.
Yeah, that would make sense too.
True, and I don't think as a viewer we knew about the bigger overall plan. So we're expecting them to try and do something.
Yeah, I guess this question comes more from having seen it, a few times. Where it's like, I do like the way it looks, though. I like the way it's executed. I love the way Jack reacts with his big wink.
Right.
Yeah.
It took me forever to figure out what the 3 meant, and I felt so silly afterwards.
Wait,
3 o'clock is what it means.
oh.
I counted down to
I was
1,500
just like,
hours. It's like,
oh, I thought it was like
yeah.
plan number. I thought it was like plan number 3.
Thank you, Josh. I as well believe it to be plan number 3. So 1,500
Okay,
hours.
so I'm not the only one who didn't get that or
You win
thought
that
that. Oh.
We couldn't do 15 fingers.
5 times more.
This is also one of the longer cuts from the original version to now. There was a whole long, very crazy, very over-the-top master sequence on the bridge where he's singing to...
Well, he tells somebody on the bridge to play track 3, which is "I Can't Decide" by the Scissor Sisters. Do you remember hearing that?
I do, and I include that on my Doctor Who playlist at trivia.
Ah, good. So you do remember that.
I do remember that, yes.
And then he pushes the Doctor around in the wheelchair, and it's got the crazy camera angle, you know.
Like it's attached.
He's
Yeah.
dancing with the doctor, kind of.
Yeah, and it's really just kind of...
Bizarre.
Yeah, it's too much.
But I will say that the song lyrics are sort of related to the relationship between the Doctor and the Master. It's saying, "I can't decide whether you should live or die," and there's a sort of push and pull relationship between, am I your enemy, am I your friend? Like, I'll give you poison birthday cake is one of the other lyrics.
There's actually even more stuff with Lucy going on as well. So you kind of get more insight into her character. You can see that she's really drugged out and not really aware of what's going on. And is this where you can kind of see there's visible signs that he hit her?
Yeah, you can see the first signs of the black eye.
Watching Lucy is so sad
It
because
is, yeah.
you didn't even need to see what happened over the 365 days. You just see how she is and that black eye, and you're like, oh my God, this woman.
Yeah.
This woman has probably taken the worst of this.
Especially since we saw how she was in the previous episode, very calm and collected.
I
Right.
wanted to see more of that, of seeing his reaction to her and how she's, what has happened, or
Yeah.
more of her reaction. And on the commentary, Russell is even saying it was his fault that the black eye didn't look as much as it should. He wanted it more subtle, but it came off on the camera even more subtle than he thought. Because it is very subtle. You don't see it for most of the other scenes.
I
They're
thought
still
it looked
left in.
realistic, though.
Well, then you may have seen it coming. What happens in the end, though?
I can kind of see that. I feel that Lucy, it leaves it open for interpretation what's going on with her. So I kind of like to do it as she's self-medicating.
Yeah.
Right.
This is her choice. She's doing this because she just needs to escape from reality of the hell that she's in.
Anything to get through the day.
Yeah.
But this actress, I think, does a fantastic job because she really gets it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she still is rooting for the Master on the surface. She plays the game, but you can tell that she is not on his side.
But
Even-
also, she has no hope either. I mean, she may not be on his side, but she's not.
Even from the beginning, she's been kind of a weak-willed character, though, which
Yeah.
is probably why he sought her out. Because I think I, mentioned that before. She's obviously easy to manipulate and control. So, but
And
she
I-
just plays it so well.
She did play it well, but I didn't interpret it that way, and that's why I wish they had more. She is now his Barbie doll, who she'll do whatever, and I just saw her totally, recoil from everything, and she's not on his side or the doctor's side. She doesn't care. It really, that's why it's like I wanted more of what she was going through. I hadn't seen the one on the regular DVD for a while, so when I watched that, it's like, thank you. That gives me a little bit more of now I see she's still present. And from the edited one, I didn't see that she was present.
Great.
And again, that's
To watch
just
that other version now.
no, but, I mean,
It's
you
worth
saw
it.
it. You saw it, so it's there. And I just think, I missed it.
Yeah, I think the scene where she talks about going to the end of the world and being despondent kind of it muddied it, I feel like, in the version that we watched. Just because, it felt then more like just the nihilism of, everything is meaningless.
The futility of life. 'Cause we're all
Right,
gonna
where
die.
I don't
Right.
think that's exactly what was going on with
Right.
her at the beginning. And I felt like getting that information, like I said, just muddied it because, obviously there was something going on between her and the Master more directly than just her being like, everything is meaningless because the universe will end in trillions of years. Like,
I actually kind of like that because it's subtly and also overtly referenced as a parallel to the Doctor. Oh, here's the Time Lord and his human companion, and the Master says that mockingly to the Doctor, like, I can do what you do too. But then on a deeper level, you see that this Time Lord took his companion to the end of the world, and she just collapsed in despair. And the Doctor took Rose to the end of literally the world, not the universe, but literally the world. And Rose freaked out, but was able to handle it in the end. So I kind of like that little comparison.
It was an aspect of it, yes, but I think with the edited version, it became the primary reason why she was despondent.
Oh, okay.
I too like the parallel that they set up between the Doctor and his companion, the Master and his companion. I think it might have been interesting to, and I'm not sure if it would have worked in this episode, to see our Doctor with Martha doing something or saying something, caring about her, or like if he had a moment where, oh, I know Martha's gonna defeat you, and then we see a juxtaposition with the Master walking in on Lucy drinking or something, and maybe not getting physical, but seeing some of that play across his face or play across some
Just
sort of
clarify it
like
more.
yelling at her, or because I feel like there was more there that they didn't hint, that they didn't show, and it might have been a little bit nicer to see that.
Like transition, you mean?
Yeah. And to understand, because yeah, she did come in with the
clarity
black
in the
guy,
script.
like, and you're like, whoa, now is the Master like an abuser? You know, there's
Yeah.
a difference between villainy and abusiveness in fiction, and so just leaving that open, I felt it could have used just more clarity.
And I'm not disagreeing with you. However,
But
and
you're
it's-
wrong.
No. I just feel like, yeah, I would love to see a version of that. However, I think the way it was, for me, just seeing her how she was in the beginning, and then, bam, seeing her how she was a year later was enough for me. Because I could see such a great difference, and maybe it was up for my interpretation how this last year went for her. But I immediately started thinking, like, oh my God, what must this year have been for her? And I kind of liked that I didn't get to see it, that I could just saw the beginning and the end.
Like the script writer knows you'll pick it up.
Yeah,
And you
I-
should be fine with that.
Yeah.
And you are.
And I am interested. I would be interested to see more detail. But as it was, I thought I liked it as it was as well.
I, as we said, I think the actress really sold it. So maybe they pulled some out because they were like, they didn't feel they needed it because she did such a good job of it.
And I
time.
do feel that what they edited out was the correct choices. I do like two little character bits when the Master's holding the Doctor up to the window, and he doesn't explain it, but he says, you've been so sad since you figured out who they are. After you know what happens and you watch it again, it's so sad. And then I also like earlier on with Martha and Tom, where she explains the perception filter. So now you know, oh, she's got this like weird, she's more than just a normal person. What else is there about you? And she just offhand, oh yeah, and I met Shakespeare.
She doesn't
And-
even look at him when
yeah,
he says
doesn't
it.
even, yeah. And it's just kind of like, I'm here to do a job. Oh, by the way, you know, so it's like the character stuff is working. With Lucy, again, I wish it was just a little bit more clearly defined, but it does make me happy that for you guys, you don't need it. You know?
I think it would have worked both ways.
Okay.
So it was probably more of a time choice in
Yeah.
the end.
For me, with Lucy, we last left her in Sound of Drums, where she's dancing and welcoming the Toclophane. And then I think what's not left is that the Master does show her where they come from at the end of the universe. And I think that kind of destroyed her. She signed on to this thing and this promise of, I'm going to take over the world. You're going to be like my wife in this new regime. And then she finds out what happens and she can't handle it. And so that's how I rationalize that she's self-medicating to deal with the choice that she's made. And that's why the change it doesn't bother me.
So you think it is the primary reason?
I think so.
Okay. And for me, I think it's a secondary reason.
I agree with what you're saying
Yeah.
because no offense to Lucy, but I just don't see her reasoning being that deep.
Yeah.
Right.
I think
Right.
she's sort of a shallow, not shallow in a like shallow as in. I just don't think there's a lot to her. I think she has a very mild personality, and
Well, she married for power.
she did. But even in the beginning, I just don't feel like she was super motivated or super
She
goal
fulfilled
oriented.
she fulfilled the trophy wife role.
Which is I believe kind of like from an upbringing of her being taught like
This is what women do in this family.
yes,
That's how I see her.
and that she's in an abusive relationship and doing what all people in an abusive relationship do is justifying why they're still in an abusive relationship.
Right.
I see it a little bit
Well, you
differently.
never know. It could get better.
He could change.
In Sound of Drums, when the reporter, Miss Rook, was talking to her, Lucy had that bit of, but he seemed nice at the beginning and he was helping my family, but there is something that wasn't right. And that's when the master comes in and she shuts up and she goes, okay, I made my choice. So I don't think she was marrying for power. I think there was something else she bought into at the beginning of it, of him being helpful and assertive and
Well, yeah, that's what I mean.
commanding.
I don't think she was marrying for power.
Well, I'm glad that Martha was near a TV to see the message.
Yeah.
I mean, the professor just finally gets it in, yeah, because she knows that a message from the professor is coming in, or sorry, from the master is coming in. All these different
And if
titles.
she needs the TV to hear the message,
How did she know?
how did the doctor knows that there's a message coming out for everybody on the planet, with kind of the assumption that everybody's going to watch this
The
message.
master.
Yeah, and the master is going to send a message out to everybody, right? So everybody get to a TV. Well, if you don't have TVs, how did everybody know to go to a TV to listen to the master's message? How did they know about the message saying there was going to be a message? Not the doctor.
I think as a dictator who's putting up statues and getting lots of people to bring all their scrap to build the rockets, like there's communication happening, even if it's other TVs, like maybe just the professor. She had a broken TV she needed to get working, but I think there's other communication happening, even if you want to explain it, that's the Archangel network subliminally telling people like, oh, I got to turn on the TV today. And,
Oh, okay. I like that.
mean,
I like
there's
the
lots of-
Archangel.
I think
I'll go with the Archangel.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And I agree with Frank that even some of the way that the professor was playing, like, oh, the man himself, like very straddling the line of, is she being sarcastic or is
Right.
she being a little bit like respectful of the dictator? And I mean, the same way with Lucy, that in this situation, a year into this rule, like you hate it and you detest it, but at the same time it normalizes and you get used to it, and
Yeah.
this is the way things are, and he's the leader, and so I'm gonna watch the leader give us the message.
And they even made an editing choice of having a reaction shot from the doctor from this doctor, not the doctor, when she says, "That's why we came here, know your enemy." Now, I don't think it's enough for you to pick up on your first viewing, because I don't think I
I did
picked up.
not.
But on the second and subsequent viewings, it's just kind of like you see the doctor kind of like,
You mean the professor?
yes, the professor. Yeah, just kind of like, what does that mean? Real quick.
Yeah, a lot of what that professor. You mean Allison? What's her name? Right.
Professor Doherty is played by Ellie Hadigan.
I think a lot of the looks that she gave could be interpreted both ways.
Totally.
Good actress.
Aboard the Valiant, the Master tells the Doctor the missiles will launch the next day and will open a rift in space. The drums in his head have led him to this, and they may stop once he creates a new Gallifrey. A few Tocklefane arrive and are excited about the coming war. On Earth, Doherty opens up a sphere and finds a human head. The sphere powers up and opens its eyes. It recognizes Martha, stating that the Tocklefane share each other's memories. They are the future humans from the end of the universe. The Doctor froze the coordinates of the TARDIS so the Master could go to the end of the universe or back here. He went to Utopia with his wife and saw the humans dying. He's bringing them to the current time so they could kill their ancestors and live, creating a paradox. That is why he needed the TARDIS to power the paradox machine.
Creepy.
One quick little thing is at the beginning of the message where he puts the doctor on camera. Hello, Gandalf. I just thought that was funny. I guess I'm pretty alone.
We're laughing inside.
I liked it. I'm just trying not to make too much noise over here.
Yeah, could you just tone it down? Thanks. The first time I ever watched this episode, I can't believe now that I couldn't figure out who the Tocklefane were. But I couldn't. So when they opened it up and it was that cute little boy in there looking very much like a demon from hell, I remember being really sad.
But remember, it's not him.
It's not, it's physically not him.
They all share the memories.
Right.
But when he says,
it's-
skies are full of diamonds, it's still really, really sad.
Yes.
It's super sad. And they
Yeah.
even flash back to, show the cute little
Yeah.
boy's face. And you're like, oh, God.
And so the Blue Peter winner.
The Blue Peter winner really got lucky.
That was the Blue Peter winner?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I like the animatronics of the face inside the sphere.
so
Like,
Really
amazing.
well done.
the eyes and the eyebrow, like all the facial features were really well done. Yeah.
It's so emotive from such a simple thing. Like, it could have been a guy's face put into a table, but they went and did a prosthetic. And I mean, to me, that rivals like Rob Bottin's work in RoboCop and Total Recall and The Thing.
So that was an animatronic?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wow. No,
That's-
this is news to me. I couldn't even tell.
It's done really, really well.
Very well.
And the voice actor is really good too, because it is an adult male voice, but there's such a childlike quality to the way he speaks. It just is really effective.
It's interesting that the way that they've made the Togglefane seem insane as well.
Mm-hmm.
Not just maniacal or having or even evil. Just they're just nuts.
Well, when you take an organic bit of a creature and shove it inside a metal box / sphere, you get a little shell shocked.
Like a Dalek.
Yeah. Oh, there's another cutscene here with Martha capturing the Toclafane. This is where Francine and her family want to kill the Master.
After the attempt on the
Yeah.
Master's life, they're all handcuffed in this one area. The three
I think it's
family
very
members.
It's very purpley.
And Francine says
Oh,
how
now I remember.
no matter what she
Okay.
does, she is going to be the one who kills the Master. Somehow he's going to let his guard down, and she'll be there, and she is going to take
Oh,
that
I remember
shot.
that. I
And that's
definitely
when,
remember that.
and also her husband, is it Clive?
Clive.
Actually kisses her. I mean, they're getting, because they're all in the same boat, so they're bringing back some of the old emotions. He says, no, that's my job, I'll kill. And then Tish is saying, no, I'm going to kill him. He made us stand there and watch as Japan is destroyed. So, I mean, it was how much they've gone through. And it's like, that's the subplot that is missing throughout this, because it's
Right,
recurs
yeah.
later on. They address
Yeah,
it.
there's
So
a-
these are the important scenes
it
I think
pays
that they
off
took
later.
out that really changed
The Joneses.
the
The
Jones
Joneses.
feelings. And
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that is a shame that got cut out. I mean, I didn't, know it was cut out until you reminded me of it, but it would have added a little bit for me because I'm a big character person. Like you
Right.
guys know all about the colors and the music and the prosthetics, and I'm all about the characters. So
Yeah, that
I would've liked
subplot
that.
I really miss when I was watching it. There was one shot where the Master comes up to the Doctor in the cage, and they're eye to eye
Oh, yeah.
speaking, and I thought that
Yeah.
really was done well.
All the animation on that little doctor was very good. I mean, it wasn't very believable in design or whatever, but the acting and the weight, and it definitely was really, I don't know if it was motion captured. I think it was actually animated, but they did a really good job of making it seem like a real person.
It was a little bit of both because they put the dots on David Tennant's face and they sunk it up to the animation.
you mean when he turns into Dobby?
Yeah.
I was thinking Yoda.
Well, crossbreed.
I keep
Right. I think Dobby's better, though. I think it looks more that way.
I keep thinking, where did they find a small suit?
Well, if you
They
actually
cut out
look,
the
I was
other one.
watching that too, because if you look, the cuffs of his sleeves and pants were really tucked in. It looked like they hit the clothes that he had and actually altered it.
See, and to me, this was one of those moments, like with the crazy Master scene at the beginning that's not in the streaming version, where it is just kind of like, okay, Russell, tone it down.
But didn't you say that was kind of a throwback to what the original Master did with shrinking people or turning them into...
yeah.
A little bit, but
Oh, yeah, and I
they
didn't
were
know
like
that at the time.
dolls. They
Well,
weren't.
it also killed him, but I guess.
Yeah.
Well, he's the size of a marionette. That's almost a doll.
I guess we can say it's an homage.
I like that.
Well, see, that's what I interpreted from the last time we were having a discussion. So when I watched it this time, I was like, oh, well, this is an homage to the old Doctor.
Somebody pays attention.
Master. Yeah, see, I took that home with me. So
Good.
you're welcome.
I'll have to let that sink in.
Before we move on, there's a point where they figure out what it takes, like the lightning strike, kind of like Back to the Future. It's a lightning strike that's going to take to capture a Toclafane. It happened once in Russia or something, and then
South Africa.
South Africa, that's right. And they're looking at a screen to figure out what they need to do. And the professor says it's going to take, I think, 510 megajoules precisely. And that's what the screen says. It says precisely. So I thought that was a little funny little moment.
Huh, I never caught that.
I have one job on this show, and that's what the computer says.
I want to skip back to the end of the discovering the nature of the troglodyte, that they're humans. And I think at this point also the master comments on human nature, that they're the biggest monsters in the universe. And I think that's another dueling aspect between the master and the doctor, where the doctor is always appealing to these better natures, like, oh, humans are so great. They overcome, they lift each other up. They, no matter what, as they evolve, they'll go through different forms, but they'll always come back to this same kind of ideal, where the master is like, no, they like to kill, they like to destroy. And even the troglodyte that they capture, when they ask, like, why did you kill all those people? He says in that childlike glee, because it's fun.
Yeah.
To me, it reminded me of the Christmas invasion when Harry and Jones attacked the Sycorax as they were leaving. And the doctor says, I should have warned them that the monsters are coming. And so that brought back they both had that feeling of what humans can be. We do have that duality in us.
Doherty asks Martha if she's found the weapon to kill the Master yet. Martha replies that since the Master and the Doctor have come to Earth so often, Unit, Torchwood, and others have been keeping watch. She shows a gun that will kill the Master. 4 chemical vials that attach to the gun and when injected will kill a Time Lord. She is missing the last chemical vial, which is in an old unit base in London, and she needs Tom to get her there. Doherty says they can stay the night, but Tom says that they can make it halfway and stay at the slave quarters in Bexley. Doherty, who stayed behind, contacts the Master and tells him about Martha. She's being forced to work with him because he has her son.
So I think that is part of the duality she has. We can take it as being, a traitor or trying to get the master, because she is doing both. I don't think she wants to work for them. She has to, and that's tearing her apart. And I think she really does that subtly and does that well in a lot of her reaction shots.
If she had more faith, maybe she would know that helping Martha is helping her son. But I get it.
But,
This is one of those tropes in fiction that I remember from the book series Dune. I don't know if you all remember, but the one doctor who was a double agent was because his wife was captured. And I've seen that like more
Dr.
and
Huey.
more. Yeah.
It's in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
It's in The Dark Knight.
And the people are always dead,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
always, it's too late.
Yeah.
Like if you have to ask, they're gone. Like her son, I don't know, he's dead.
Yeah, he's dead, but-
But I've seen, not just in science fiction, but whenever you have this dichotomy of power and you need to turn somebody on your side, you kidnap a family member, hold them hostage, and tell that person, you better do what I say or they're going to be dead. And they always are dead. So sorry if any of my loved ones gets kidnapped. I'm not going to.
You don't negotiate.
Yes, I don't
Terrorist.
negotiate.
Foreign or domestic.
I agree with you, Auburn, about that trope of someone's son or daughter or wife, whatever. But I don't know, it didn't bother me.
There's also a line that Doherty is saying to Martha when she reveals the thing about the gun and the 4 vials, and then she says, you don't look like a killer. And the way she delivers that, I thought was, you don't know what that is at the moment, but then later on, like on the subsequent viewings, you're like, makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And Martha's reaction to that.
Yes.
So I wonder what Martha had to do this last year. You could just see that in her eyes, something like, I don't know.
Yeah. There's a
Not
lot you could
speaking
read
over.
into that.
Yeah.
When Martha and Tom arrive at the slave quarters, the people know of Martha and believe she is the one who can kill the master. She says that she is not important and tells them all about the doctor. The master arrives and calls for Martha to come out. He threatens to kill the others, so she steps forward. He confiscates the gun and destroys it. He raises his screwdriver to kill her, but Tom runs out and the master kills him instead. He takes Martha to the Valiant so the doctor, Jack, and her family can watch her die.
Did you guys notice the filming error
I'm gonna go with no.
on the street?
No, please tell.
So on the street, it's all bare. There's no cars, which Frank pointed out to me why there's no cars.
Earlier on, Martha said that Tom said, when he was talking to Martha, they just take all the metal they can to build the rockets, all the cars and everything they can find.
Except all their satellite dishes are still out.
But they need to be able to see the master's messages.
That's how I was going to rationalize it.
Something else that's not plot related, and I really wish I'd done more homework on this to really hammer this in. But that staircase where Martha sits with all the slaves, they use that staircase like 6 more times in this show, in different episodes.
I wouldn't doubt it.
And every time I see it, I'm like, it's the Martha staircase. And I really wish that I had done my research to think of the other episodes. But from
Definitely
this point,
turn left. It has to be turn left.
maybe.
Yeah, because of... Yeah.
Of the
same
storyline of Turn Left.
It's a very similar situation to what's happening with Martha now.
So I bet you they're filming at the same location.
Possibly. I remember that staircase.
I thought it was great to have it on the staircase because it felt very intimate.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the lighting.
And I think, even the lighting on the street. I thought the street shots and the lighting and everything was done really well. It was really beautiful on that. But I think the reason they had to do it on the staircase, if I remember correctly from the
Commentary?
thank you, was that they wouldn't let them into the other rooms to
Yeah.
film anything.
Oh, really?
It's like the staircase as far as you go.
They were
so
watching
this is it.
they're watching their satellite TV. Don't disturb us.
No, I think it's because they cleared it out and they had to put everything in the other room, so they couldn't.
couldn't
There's
do
no
it.
room.
I just remembered what you were referring to in Turn Left, and I think that is one of them. Yes.
Yeah.
But there are more as well. But
Yeah,
but I'm pretty sure
yeah.
that is one of them. Yeah.
Up until now, it's Martha's the legend. And this is the scene where you see what Martha's actually doing. And it's not Martha is the legend, it's the Doctor is the legend. Yes, she is doing extraordinary things, but she's doing it to get people to know who and what the Doctor is.
She gives him all the credit.
He is the hope, he saved you so many times and you don't even know his name, and now you do.
And he's never stuck around for a thank you.
Yep.
Just keeps going. I love that.
This is where I wish Arlene was with us today just to pick her brain on the Gospel of the Doctor coming here, where Martha's playing sort of like a John the Baptist character, preparing the way, but she's not the way. And watching it a second time, I think knowing that this scene is coming, you feel more of that like itinerant preacher or like, this missionary that's been going around the world spreading the seeds of the Doctor will save us. Like we all just need to believe in him at this very specific time. But I was surprised, like I expected more of it, but it didn't overpower the episode. Like I think they played it very well that it was this late in the episode before we as the audience hear her message.
Yeah, because I think it would have
it would have been too much.
Yeah. We would have figured things out.
But a
Yeah.
little later on in the episode, it does come back.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But for this moment,
It's good.
It's the
But this,
nice
it's like you just think that we're just getting like a little scene, maybe an exposition scene, maybe just a tiny little character moment of Martha giving these faceless people hope. So we get a little insight into Martha, and actually, in reality, we're getting the entire plot twist.
I do agree with you, Auburn, that there is a bit of a religious setup, especially what ends up happening. We'll talk about at the very end with the Master and the Doctor.
And, what we've mentioned about what makes this scene great, the lighting, the mood, the lines of dialogue, the delivery, but also for me, it's the music. It's the
I had
Doctor.
that down
It's
here.
the Doctor's
Yes.
theme, but it's done in an acoustic version.
Yes.
And I was like, that is really well done. And that's not on the soundtrack, so it's a shame.
Have we even heard that theme a lot this season? Because when I hear that, I go straight back to Roseville for some reason.
No, because I think we use Martha's theme a lot this season.
And variations on her theme.
Yeah, variations, even when Martha's like not there.
We've heard the Doctor's theme before. It was either Lazarus Experiment or probably 42.
But not
But not
as
like this.
prominently
No.
as we used to. We used to hear
right.
it like every episode when,
Right.
when Rose was the companion. And so I even remember watching it the first time and having that like, where's Rose? Rose is coming!
But yeah, it was just great hearing that piece of music arranged differently for this crucial scene.
Very hopeful and uplifting.
I think also what sells it too is the script with the people, the slaves. They've been affected by the year and the Archangel Network and the way they speak because, how is it? He never sets foot upon the ground.
Yeah,
it's very
here.
biblical
Yeah.
the way
he's like,
they're
he's
talking.
here, he's here.
His presence is among us or something like that.
Like he's graced us with his presence type of thing.
Yeah, we're not worthy to see him with our own eyes.
Yeah.
It's just like two lines, but it's really well done. I think it conveys the mood really well.
And also Martha is telling like an oral history rather than passing out leaflets or literature where that's how stories were disseminated in biblical times. They weren't educated to read. And I'm pretty sure the Master outlawed all literature.
On the Valiant, the Master makes Martha kneel before him. He readies the 200,000 missiles and begins the countdown. He plans to kill Martha once the counter reaches 0, as evil madmen do. He asks Martha for any last words, and she begins to laugh. A gun in 4 parts, scattered around the world? And he really believed that? She knew about Doherty and her son, and used her to inform the master about the gun so Martha would get to the Valiant. She told everyone she met about the doctor the entire time she was on the Earth. Words, that's all she used. They were to pass it on. Everyone's to think of the doctor at the same time using the countdown. The Archangel Network would channel all their thoughts and restore the doctor.
Yeah, I have a couple things. I'll start with one. First of all, the master makes a reference to Rose in this time.
Let it go.
Right. Yeah, another kind of Martha bashing moment. Although, it ends up not.
Right.
Being so true.
He's wrong.
But he says, you had companions that could absorb the time vortex. And meanwhile, Martha's on her knees or...
Yeah.
But of course, Martha's like, ha, that's what you think. But yeah, they had to throw that in there.
Yeah, they just had to. And now, especially after we've analyzed all the episodes coming up here and we've seen all the rows and rows and rows and rows. And this one is just kind of like, oh.
Look, I could understand the first few episodes making lines like that when people were still going through the adjustment period. But this is the last episode of the season. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Just give the poor girl her moment in the sun.
From the guy who shouldn't even know what happened
Right.
with absorbing the time vortex, which, it's easy enough for him to find out. He's the master. He would find out these things. But it's still just kind of like, oh, man.
I like that they brought up that aspect of Rose, just because I think the relationship between the Rose and the Doctor, I'm romantic. It's like
I
that's
guess
something
it
that
is a
was
soft spot.
pretty there.
Well,
but
it
it's
also plays into what happens at the very end of this episode, what Martha's talking about.
Oh,
The
absolutely.
relationship with the
Yeah.
Doctor.
I mean, I do think it's definitely a slap in the face of Martha kind of thing again. It's like, oh, really? But we all know better that Martha is competent, and you can't compare the two because they are so different. It's like, no, you can't say that. But the way he sees it is she's powerful and Martha's not, because all Martha has is words.
Well, it's exactly what the master would say, because he's going to degrade her.
Yeah, and that would
Right.
definitely wound her in just the right spot.
And wound the doctor too. He's just trying to insert the knife and twist.
You're right.
I would have
You
loved
know?
to have Martha under her breath. You're bringing her up now? Something like that would have been a great moment.
Like the record scratch, like,
Really?
seriously with this. Like,
Break the fourth wall.
this is a question I have. Maybe you guys can shed some light. Why does the master think that this gun is a real thing that could work?
And that's how he would work. Like that he would figure out a way to kill his enemy.
And I like the way that they said it's because the Doctor's been around so long that Unit and Torchwood have figured out a way to get rid of the Doctor or any else of his kind in case they come around, which actually kind of makes me think in the regular timeline, does Unit or Torchwood have a gun like this? And there's a part of me that wants to think they do, at least Torchwood. Yes, it's kind of a dramatic cliche and trope, but the way we've heard about Torchwood, I could see them doing that just to, this is a last ditch thing, but we're going to be safe. We're going to spread it out, and we'll bring it all together and use it if we have to.
Wouldn't it be cool if there was a future episode that was like the Winter Soldier,
Uh-huh.
where like all of a sudden everyone we trusted was like after the Doctor, and like
I wanted to point out earlier that when Doherty calls the Archangel Network, there's a cutscene here where the Master is in his robe and taunts the Doctor, saying, "Guess what?" And it cuts to Martha telling the story on the staircase. So that's another small scene you missed.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
and
don't-
it's
I don't
really
like that
quick.
at all.
I don't even think it's like 10 seconds.
Yeah, not even.
It's just it just kind of comes out of nowhere, and they had to spend the money to CGI
Yeah.
the puppet.
and then they cut it out. Another thing that's missing is the glass conference table on the Valiant. Martha walks straight in, and there's no conference table.
Oh yeah,
Didn't even notice it was gone until
The commentary.
we wrote the commentary. Oh, that's right.
did
Oh,
they
wow.
say in the commentary like we figured no one would notice, so
Yes,
we moved
they
it?
they were just
Right.
like, it's not needed. It's for
Gotcha.
Because they were
story.
going to have Martha walk around it, but then it just seems so awkward. Let's just take it out.
Yeah,
So
because
much
you
is
need
going
it for
on.
everything that happens in that last scene. It needs to be open.
Yeah.
yeah.
I do like the pole that raises from the center of the
Yes.
of the table in that one scene with the toclophane coming in. So the toclophane CGI, the pole raises up, and then they can just set a prop.
Yep.
And they don't have to pay for the CGI for the rest of the scene. And it was like, clever. I like that. It works.
And if the master wants to have like a bachelor party, he's got
That's
his,
right.
his
Oh,
poles
yeah.
all set up and ready to go.
There's another extra scene where it's implied that the master has multiple wives in different areas of the world.
Oh.
And one of them that's more, I guess, apparent. In the commentary, it was implied that he has wives.
Oh.
But there's other women, and the one that is in here where the scene is cut out is the master is getting a massage from Tanya, and that's where you see more of Lucy and her black eye, and he has his suit jacket off, and then she takes it off for him to get the massage, and then I forgot where they cut to, but then he's putting it back on, and
In the streaming version, you never see him take the coat off.
you only see him put it back on.
You get a lot more of Lucy in that version. And the black eye, I think, is actually
More prominent.
more
now.
prominent in this scene. So you can just kind of see that, there's emotional, physical, mental abuse going on with her, and that the master is just, going after anything.
Why
Sorry.
doesn't the master kill the main people? I mean, is it just the old storyline where he's just keeping him around so they can defeat him later on? You know how that
'Cause
goes? Because
he-
he kills many people throughout this whole thing, but he misses Francine, gives her a warning shot. He doesn't kill Martha down on the planet and says, "Oh, I'll take you up to the ship and watch you die there." But I don't think he's going to kill her on the planet. I think he would have stopped himself. He has not killed the doctor this whole period of time. So
I think it's all. I think it's all ego. I think
Yeah,
it's just
and
these are
fun.
these are the key players who are there to watch him do his thing. Because if they were just minions, it wouldn't mean as much.
Yeah, and if he kills them, he can't lord it over them anymore.
Just a throwback to my Sound of Drums rant. It's a Batman Joker thing. Like they don't ever really want to kill each other because, well, the Joker specifically, because
Right.
he just enjoys the chase, I guess, or
right.
terrorizing, and
Yeah.
he would feel
But
lost
the Joker
and
would
empty.
kill when he needs to.
Oh yeah, but other people, it's like he doesn't
Right.
have any kind of connection with them, so just
But with the master and the doctor in the classic, it wasn't just that. There was more of a
Yeah, there wasn't a
slight
maniacal.
friendship along with it. So that's why, is that still part of his character?
Maybe it's just that, but twisted into an insane dynamic.
Because I'm thinking, we're totally going to geek out on this. You're thinking more of a Joker-Batman relationship. And I was thinking more of Professor X and Magneto relationship.
Which we
where
also
they
mentioned.
were some friends, but they're totally opposites. But there's still that bond there of respect and slight friendship, but they don't want the other person to die, but they don't want the other person to succeed because that's against their own agendas.
Yes, that's how I see it.
I
But
would
with
say
this master, he seems so far gone that I don't see it being any friendship left, but it's like, that's what I'm trying to look for.
that's
see.
why you used to have a Magneto Professor X, and now you're tilting more into
Right.
Batman Joker territory.
Yes. Totally geeking out. I'm trying to, the analogies we have to pull out for this.
But even in the classic series, there were episodes where they were much more friendly and much more enemies. It just depended on the story at the time.
Right.
There weren't the master wasn't ever like nuts like this master, but you still get the connect. I still think the connection between the two of them is there. He's of that schizophrenic nature that he could compartmentalize it, and he could probably still go on and destroy everything and get everything he ever wanted, and yet always be upset that the doctor's gone.
What you're saying right now, as someone who's never watched the original series, clarifies a lot for me in this episode, but also even in an episode as recent as the most current season. Wow, I'm learning things. I learn things.
In that scene where Martha's laughing, going, "A gun, really? Are you that stupid?" It's so completely awesome. And then the doctor just looks at the master and goes, "As if I would tell her to kill." I love that. It is just, hello, ultimate doctor moment again. There's the doctor, there's the show, all in one little line said by a CGI Dobby. It's perfect.
In the same voice.
Which then goes back to Martha didn't kill when she looked at the professor when the professor said, you don't look like a killer.
Yep.
It's like, so what did Martha was trying to convey with her eyes at that point? Because like, she wouldn't have killed. That's right.
There's also a little foreshadowing in here, because what's the first thing that the master does when Martha gets on the bridge? He says, "Give me your teleportation device." Now, if you really think about it, yeah, Martha's got a teleportation device. So why is she walking around the entire planet? She doesn't have to walk across the United States. She doesn't have to walk through radiation fields in Europe. You know, this is her teleportation device, which, by the way, she's not using. And you might think for a second, well, that's kind of weird, but then you find out it's
Why?
not. I mean, the purpose was to talk to all the people on the planet, or as many as she could. But it is kind of like, you know, the master isn't going, why haven't you been using this?
But you don't know she hasn't been using it. The legend could just be she's walking the Earth. But if she is trying to spread the word for the failsafe plan, then that makes sense. Or she could maybe use it to get across the radiation fields. And
But I still think that Martha
Physically?
did physically
Yeah.
do all of it because it's Martha. I mean, it's
I
like,
agree with you,
know,
now that you've explained
I
it.
mean,
In here, I like the twist that the good guy is the one that reveals the plot of the entire thing rather than the bad guy.
Huh. Never thought about that. But it is very common for the
you made
animated.
me do a monologue. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, I mean, that's a perfect example.
So I like that twist, not only a twist in the plot, but a twist in structure. And Martha has talked enough, and now the countdown has reached 0. The Doctor begins to change back. All around the world, people say his name, and he changes back into his normal self. He had a year to gain access to the network and integrate with it. He disarms the Master, but the Master pulls out Martha's transporter, sending the two of them to Earth. Each missile has a black hole converter inside, and the Master will destroy the Earth if he can't have it. The Doctor gets the remote from the Master and transports them back to the ship. Jack goes to destroy the paradox machine inside the TARDIS, but is blocked by a few Toclophane. He fights his way past them and destroys the machine. The rest of the Toclophane converge on the Valiant. With the paradox machine gone, time reverses, erasing the past year to when it first went online. The people of the Valiant, being at the epicenter of the time disturbance, are the only ones who remember what has happened in the past year.
The year of the Master.
The year that never was.
Or, you know, it reminds me of Superman.
Yeah.
Earth going backwards.
Yeah, it's kind of a cheap ending, but since it's a show about time travel.
I'm just glad the whole season wasn't reversed. You know?
Yes.
Oh, they could
I
have
hate
done
when that
that.
happens. It's like, okay, this is just the last 2 episodes. Okay.
That's true. Yeah, we reversed everything
or
from when
you
Saxon
mean-
showed up.
Or you mean the last
Yeah.
4 or 5 seasons
Right.
were reversed?
And that everybody on board still remembers, so there's still the effect of it.
Yeah,
which is
that's
nice.
I do enjoy that.
Yeah,
Because it makes
because isn't
sense.
it Francine who says, "But I remember it."
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, it's really, really tough.
Yeah, well, it's going to change her. She's going to be a better person for it. Stronger.
Faster. No.
Better. We have the money, the technology.
What did you guys think about the Doctor floating up and...
Oh,
My
Floating
note here
across
is,
the
"Oh, the flying."
wait, before that even happened, there was like a Beauty and the Beast transformation.
Dun, 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 dun. And I love how the birdcage just like disintegrates. it's too much for me.
And then he does the Jesus over the water
Yes.
floating.
Yeah.
You know what happens next. You know what I'm going to say.
And the Peter Pan, everybody clap.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a
No,
lot
I
of
don't
stuff
mind them
happening in
saying
that.
doctor. I really don't. I don't want to.
Well, that's the whole point of the plan.
And so I'm okay with it.
No, I don't mind it. I'm just
But it is Peter
saying
Pan.
that there's a
clap.
lot of pop culture-y kind of stuff getting mushed into this like few minutes of screen time.
And then the master is just like instantly reduced to a quivering mass of crying shame because no, don't forgive me. No, it just
That's the pinnacle of the Jesus
Well,
allegory right
we
there.
we also get the Doctor's theme again, which is a choir. Back to the the angel heavenly choir thing going on.
The resurrection. Yes.
Yeah.
But that also goes back to my idea that part of the Master, there's part of him that still wants to be, either saved or, to, do something to stop me. Because he then goes quivering, going, he finally gets that. Not the main part of him, but that's
I'm
what...
going to rationalize it as there's still a part of the master who really wants to be friends with the doctor. So maybe it's not that he's good inside. Maybe it's not that he does want to be stopped from doing all his things, but he really wants the doctor to just get him. He just wants to be friends again with the doctor. So maybe that's how I'll see it in my head.
But he hates himself so much, he doesn't, don't forgive me, I don't deserve to be forgived. And the only thing that kind of rationalizes the way I do of him floating and using the telekinetic powers to move the screwdriver away is that he's still hooked into the psychic network. And those things, levitation, moving objects with your mind, are part of the psychic phenomenon. So he's using that part of it. That's how I would rationalize
Which isn't
it.
even a rationalization. It is what is happening. He is tied into the psychic network.
Every time you say psychic network, I think of Madame Chloe.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Oh, and they had to leave the president dead, didn't they?
Oh, I know that too.
They just had
Had to be
to.
that president.
We're gonna have some fun with the Americans. Your president's still dead.
But how is he dead if...
It all started just right after that happened.
Okay, so what did the people of Earth think happened then?
All up to that point, then they, killed the president. But before the rift opened and all of the troglodyte came.
when they needed the paradox
So-
machine to actually function.
But the Tacofane killed the president. So do
Some
the,
there were
Taclophane
only
came
4
back
of them.
with the master
There's
and the
only 4.
TARDIS.
right, but do the people of Earth know about these 4 Taclophane then?
Yeah, but
Yes.
it's going to be one of those things like the alien ship over Big Ben and the star in the sky. You're going to be off scuba diving and not really realize that
Something happened.
something happened.
It was a malfunction, a machine malfunction that did it.
Big conspiracy.
I mean, that's never addressed because this happens, right after that. So they're still going, what happened? What happened? But you can just tell that they're going to cover up somehow.
Yeah, but the president of the United States is still dead, and we'll never hear about that ever again.
Well, now it seems like the prime minister is also, quote unquote, dead too in their eyes, right?
Yeah.
Right. So
But
this
then you
first
see-
meeting with this new
But
alien
you
race
see,
is not going
they
well.
would do a cover up, and by doing a cover up, they would make it seem like there was a cover up before. It's like they are going to cover up everything that happened and lie. Literally, they went back to the point where the paradox machine was started.
I love Jack blowing up the paradox machine with his machine gun.
I like it when he comes into the TARDIS and you can see it's like, how many times have you died? Because it's like, I just struggled through all that and made it. And the other guys didn't make it with him, I did like how they had the men turn. Like, the
Immediately,
Archangel
yeah.
Network drops the Master and picks up the Doctor. So kind of like people either wake up or just, are now on the other side. But Jack just turns and says, "Come with me." And so the guards are like, "Yeah, let's go." Yeah.
Like they don't even question it.
No,
I like
and
it.
I like it.
Yeah.
And Lucy then also starts chanting Doctor.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah,
Joins
you
in.
see Lucy in the background start to say Doctor.
Have we said anything at all about Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds besides the comment before that? That's
I've never thought of that. That's brilliant.
No,
even if the Toglophane aren't diamonds, the whole thing with the kid saying the sky's full of diamonds and her name is Lucy.
You mentioned that.
I mentioned it, but I didn't mention it with any conscious thought behind it. I just thought of the title of the song.
I don't know. I think Lucy did a little too much LDS.
Star Trek.
There it is.
I did not like the look on the planet when the Doctor and Master beamed down.
No.
Oh, like
the
the
It was
star.
very
yeah.
washed out,
Burned out.
overexposed.
Maybe they beamed down to Japan, where it's all destroyed.
No.
No, because the
I don't have a
rockets-
problem with them beaming down to the Earth.
No, that's why it looks like that. I'm saying.
Yeah, and it's just harsh, and they're in a radiation field or something like that. Yeah, but I just think the whole sequence is silly.
I agree.
mean, I can probably see it maybe from a scriptwriter's point of view of we need to get to a place where it's just the Doctor and the Master confronting each other alone. I think you could have had that exact same discussion and just focused on the Doctor and the Master and not really had reaction shots from everybody else.
And have him destroy the transporter device rather than take it.
Yeah, he could have just destroyed
But
it.
then that's Jackson. Maybe they needed a
Well, yeah,
Torchwood.
or maybe he just doesn't use it, and later on he just, the Doctor just takes it to give it back to Jack.
While Martha is still on the ship, before we get to the finale, the Master keeps calling Martha a child, and even like while before everything starts playing out, he says that she's going to be the first blood of like the sacrifice or of murdering everybody else. And that was just more stuff that also went into the allusions to the Christ figure. Like Martha's the child that
The innocent.
the innocent child, yeah, and that she was also going to be the first sacrifice. And I think Frank, you also mentioned like the flying doctor, not quite crucifix doctor, but definitely like getting kind of close to that.
Very much. Yeah.
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 But I liked it, and I like the explanation that it was still connected to the psychic network.
Yeah.
I'll buy it.
It didn't bother me the floating the first couple times actually I watched it. Then it's just sort of getting a little bit more a little silly. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, I was just in it so much. I think the first couple times.
Yeah, that could be.
But then it also this whole season we've talked about it is more kid oriented. You know,
Yeah.
so that works
Yeah.
on that level really well.
The Master tries to escape but is stopped by Jack, who asks what they should do with him. The Joneses family want to kill him, but the Doctor can't kill another Time Lord and takes responsibility for the Master. He will keep him locked up in the TARDIS. From across the room, the Master's wife shoots a gun, and the Doctor catches the falling Master. He begs the Master to regenerate, but the Master defies him and dies. The Doctor takes the body to Earth and sets it on top of a funeral pyre. After the body burns and the Doctor leaves, a mysterious hand picks up the Master's ring. Ba-ba-ba-ba, ba-ba-ba-ba.
Before we go back to the Return of the Jedi funeral, I wanted to go back to what Brian said about locking up the Master. There's another instance where the Doctor keeps the Master inside the TARDIS, and that's in the animated Scream of Shalka, which oddly enough, Derek Jacobi voices the Master in that episode.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Derek Jacobi was the Master in Utopia.
Professor Yana.
Yes.
And this had a cut scene, which I thought was fairly important.
Yes.
And this
Very
is the one
important.
that has kind of a jump cut, where Martha, Tish, and her father are up on the top stairs, and then the Doctor is next to him. Francine is down on the bottom of the stairs. And then all of a sudden, the Doctor is now in front of the Master down at the bottom. Martha is hugging Francine in the background. So the cut's very abrupt. In that scene, Francine picks up the gun, and she is going to kill, the Master. And the Doctor comes down to Francine and says, and tries to stop her from killing him. Not for the Master, but for what it'll do to Francine. And I thought she did it really well. Yeah. And she then puts the gun down and turns into the Doctor, and he hugs her, and she's finding solace in the Doctor, the man that she was against for such a long time. So I thought that was a good moment there. And
That you don't get on the streaming,
then Martha comes down to hug her, and the Doctor moves forward to the Master.
which allows Lucy to get the gun.
I want that moment.
Buy the DVD.
On sale now.
That moment is because when I was watching streaming going, I remember Francine having the gun, and it was driving me crazy going, and that's made me think, I've been missing scenes throughout this, and so I had to go back and put in the actual DVD.
It's the lost year.
I've never seen the old show, so I wasn't really aware of to the full extent of the Doctor and the Master's relationship. All I've seen so far is that he's a murdering psychopath. It's implied that they were friends as boys, and that they're both Time Lords, and of course David Tennant's Doctor having such a thing against death and killing and being all alone. I could justify that he didn't want the Master to die because he didn't want to be the last Time Lord. But then looking back at all the stuff that the Master did, I was kind of like, how could you be rooting for this person? Ugh. And I didn't know they've had such a friendship in the past.
But do you really see him as rooting for this person? It's more of,
No.
I'm going to take responsibility for this person. You've done terrible things, and he forgives him, but he's not forgetting. When we first watched it, we hadn't seen much of the classic series too, and it was more of, I don't want to be the last of the Time Lords. This is another person of my race, and I just don't want to kill.
That's how I
And I still accepted that.
I took a lot of it as it's still the effects of the Time War on him. Like, he's just shell-shocked in the guilt of what he did in the Time War, that exactly what he said, we're the last of our kind. It's more somewhat redeeming the situation. I think he's still got a big piece of brokenness, and that's why he was falling apart.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think if he did keep him prisoner, it wouldn't make him feel any better. He just thinks it will.
I think that too, which is why, I don't hate this episode or anything crazy like that. But deep down, it bothers me because he literally watched this guy abuse women and kill people for an entire year and destroy the Earth and wipe out Japan. And it's like, how could you do that? And then just be like, instantly, I forgive you.
And that is true. That's something that as humans we would struggle with and try to do. The Doctor is on that same course trying to strive to that.
And he succeeds this time, but I'm sure, the family of blood are out there going, oh, sure, fine.
I'll just be out here in the field,
You just,
in the mirror.
tortured me for infinity, but, let this guy go because, you were friends once.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of like how I feel, and I don't want to
No, it
feel
is
that
tough.
way.
It
It's
is
not also
tough.
that just that he's friends.
No, I know.
This
I didn't
guy
mean
has
that.
gone since he was a young child and looked into that vortex.
Schism.
I didn't mean that. It was just the joke that came out.
No, I know, but I think I was just more referring still to what the Doctor is going through, being childhood friends, knowing that at this point, because of being a Time Lord, this has now gone crazy, and he's been battling this the whole time. It's the understanding of what got the Master to this point, not just what the Master did, but what got him there. And that's, that's what I think, as trying to get to the best of being human, we strive for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well,
And I can't.
I would never strive for that.
but
I was all about like, yes, shoot that guy. Shoot him now.
But what did you think of when he said to Francine, "It'll change you"?
Well,
Did
she
you
didn't
agree
get to
with
see
you?
that
That
part.
Oh, you didn't
No,
see that.
but
She remembers it. You remember it.
That's a very 10th Doctor thing to do and say. And it's also another trope that you see a lot. Like,
But do you think it's valid? Because I'm thinking if I were there after that year, I still don't know if I'd be able to shoot him. But if I were in the position to shoot him and the doctor said to me, think of what it'll do to you, not him, that might be enough to stop me.
it might be, but then I think like if I had the chance to like shoot Hitler, would I? Yeah, I probably would. Maybe I won't be able to sleep at night, but
Right, but then you would accept that.
I'd be like, well, that's fine. I'll get over it. I don't know. But I think if the doctor hadn't stepped forward and said that, we would probably all be sitting around this table asking why he did.
Absolutely. We would notice the absence of that.
I'm wondering if it would have been the doctor sitting down. Well, what would that? Sorry, what were you saying?
Yeah, but when Lucy shoots him, that's satisfying.
It is, and I
Does he
think
still
that's
get
why
shot?
Yeah.
I think that's why they had Lucy shoot him, because it's like we don't necessarily have to feel like one of our characters did the dirty work.
Yeah,
it's
it's-
like, oh, Lucy can do it, and that's okay.
It's because she's ancillary. We kind of fill in the blanks where the others we're invested in, and we want them to remain good and altruistic.
And it is foreshadowed, especially if you watch the original version.
Well, at this point, I mean, she's already been a villain in the episode. She's somewhat redeemed, but he also betrayed her, so that's even more of a horrible thing to do to her. Plus, she's obviously altered and screwed up. We get to see him get shot and feel okay about it because the person who did it isn't on our side necessarily.
Exactly. I think it was done right. I think that was the best way you could have done it.
It brings back to Allburn at the beginning of this show saying that he wanted the doctor to say something about Martha's going to defeat you. Mm-hmm. Sorry, wrong companion. It's like your own companion is one who's going to defeat you. The anti-companion.
The Doctor and Martha take Jack back to Cardiff to reunite with Torchwood. The Doctor confirms that he cannot do anything to reverse what Rose did to Jack. Jack wonders what he will look like in a million years since he is still aging slowly. He has always been vain ever since he was a boy living in the Beauchene Peninsula, and they nickname him the Face of Beau.
What?
That was so fun. Oh, I'm trying to remember the first time hearing that.
The first time.
What? You're expecting just a nice little goodbye ending, and then this comes.
I remember the female in me being slightly disappointed, like, oh, that's what you look like? I just wanted you to be hot forever.
Maybe that will be hot in a million years from now.
Oh, yeah. Love me some Face of Beau.
Means FaceTime is
I
in
like
there.
how the doctor was also kind of taken aback by it. It wasn't just Martha. Like something is.
Yeah, both
Right.
of them.
Usually things don't throw him, but they were both shocked by it.
Yeah, they're both reacting like fans of Doctor Who.
And you can never watch a Face of Beau episode again without knowing that's Jack.
Yeah, because when in the episode where he's like, "That's enigmatic. That is textbook enigmatic," and Jack is having fun with you.
How did he get so large?
Yeah.
From the fumes and
From the
gridlock.
from Gridlock.
Oh, that's what it was.
I also do like that. He's like, "Oh, I have to get back to my team." Kind of like, "Oh, you guys are like my family, but they're my family too, and I want to be with them." And and the doctor's like, "Oh, saving the world, can't argue with that."
And I get paid to be more to be on that show.
But if you know Torchwood, you know that when he goes back, the team's not happy to see him.
Can we please get Jack to come back when we have a female doctor? Please. I mean, I've always wanted to come back, but now more than ever.
We're never gonna have a female doctor. You're talking like a crazy person.
I don't even know how to react to that.
Yeah, for sure.
That sound of silence is Heather's heartbreaking.
There were cutscenes here too.
What?
Yes, there are.
Wow.
You want to do one and I'll do the
The
other?
ending felt pretty long. And
Go ahead and do
the
them both.
version we
It was,
saw.
they pulled a Lord of the Rings on us?
I know. Well, no, they did already because there's already 3 little endings
Yeah.
that they actually put in, and that they added 2 more to just resolve some issues.
So now that the year is erased, Martha gives Doherty flowers.
Oh, I like that scene.
And it's just like a stranger giving somebody else
And
flowers.
is her son there? Like,
No, it's just her walking like it looks like a campus.
Yeah, she's
university.
going to teach class.
okay.
And Martha says,
I don't blame you.
"It's okay, I don't blame
I
you."
forgive you.
Yeah.
And Doherty has no idea who she is.
And then the other one happens later. We'll
Yeah.
let you read.
Martha tells the doctor that she is staying with her family. After all they've been through, they need her now, and she can't leave. She also tells him that she can't move on with her life with him around. She gives him her mobile phone, though, and tells him that when it rings, he better come quickly. The doctor, along with his hand in a jar, depart in the TARDIS, but suddenly it crashes into Titanic.
So, but right before Martha enters the TARDIS, she calls somebody on her phone, and she calls Dr. Tom Milligan
Ooh.
and checks up
Oh.
on him.
I remember that.
So
Yes.
Tom's alive. in
Which
this
is why
one.
I found future episodes disappointing. But
Yeah, yeah.
Well, like, really great, and then disappointing.
yeah,
This ends with my favorite tie shirt combo with the blue suit, the burgundy shirt, and the floral navy blue burgundy tie with the red sneakers.
I don't think I even noticed that. I don't know what that says.
When Martha walks into the TARDIS and the doctor is kind of like solemn, and she asks like, "Are you okay?" And he gives the answer that he gave in Girl in the Fireplace. Always, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Oh.
He does that again with Donna later.
Yeah.
I liked that the doctor looked let down. It's usually the other way around, where the doctor leaves. And this is the best Martha part. When she comes back in the second time going, here's the thing. I had a friend, Vicky, and she was fighting over a guy. And it's just, thank you, Martha. We needed that so much. This isn't the relationship that's going to work, and I know it, and I'm not going to be pining over you.
I just
For Martha.
remember watching that for the first time and thinking like I would never have the strength to do that. Like, which made me like go Martha. The fact that she was able to call attention to an experience she had had or a mate had had, and learn from it.
Yes, absolutely. I even like Freema's choice as an actor when she steps out of the TARDIS, closes the door, and there's that like sigh of, is it sadness that you are not going to continue on with him, but also relief that you have closed this chapter in your
Yes.
life. And I love that moment. And I like that they gave us that breathing room.
But I do also kind of chuckle where it's like, no, I'm not going to hang around you. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this. But here's my phone. And I like that she gives him her phone because then she can come back and they can explain it better. But there is just teeny tiny part of me that's like, no,
Cold turkey.
but I'm okay with it because it's done really well. And at that point, it's because it's acted so well.
And to me, they didn't really have a relationship. And so it was all one-sided on her. So that's why cold turkey is not needed.
Well, that's one of the big things I love about Martha is from the first episode that she's in charge of herself.
She has a lot more to stay back for than Rose did per se. Rose had no future, no job, wasn't going to college.
And she dumped her mom the
Right.
first time she could. There was a little ad lib at the very end of it when she's walking back to her parents' home. And it was just Francine, you can see mouthing, she's coming back. And she's like excited and she's calling over, the rest of the people. Through the window, you don't see, it's just, you can see it, you don't hear her, but you can definitely read it that she's coming back and all excited. Perfect. That was so great of a choice to do.
Because Francine would have thought that she's going off into the TARDIS.
And she wouldn't stop her, but she wouldn't be happy about it.
Right.
And Leo was there, and he's going, my family's nuts. They called me last night to get out of town, and now everyone's here. What's going on?
Is Leo in there?
He
That's how
should
we-
be. He should be.
Yeah,
I thought they had the actor for that minute.
I don't.
No.
I don't remember.
they CGI'd him. They spent the whole budget
The
on
back
that.
of his head or something. Yeah.
Because this whole season took on Earth a week.
The whole season?
He picked her
Yeah.
up and then
In
brought her back
Martha's-
12 hours after he
The party,
left,
yeah.
after the party. And
And
that's
then
when
they- and
Saxon
then they
was
lived
already,
through-
got the announcement. So then,
And then they lived through Lazarus experiment, and then they come back after that.
so it's all a short period of time on Earth.
Earth time, 1 week.
Because I think they say in Lazarus experiment the election's coming up.
Yeah, because that's how
Right.
Tish got that job because she was suggested to Lazarus by Saxon or something.
Right.
So, did Last of the Time Lords live up to the promise of the previous episode?
Yes.
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 Definitely yes.
And yes for me too. Just to wrap up, I like that we went on this journey of sci-fi, big budget, but it ends on something very relatable with unrequited love and being mature enough to recognize and move on. And even in the commentary, when Russell wrote that scene, both Phil Collinson and Julie Gardner, the producers, said, "Did you write that scene for me?" So it's something that's relatable to everybody, and I think that's something universal. And one quick trivia bit is that Colin Teague is the credited director, but he injured himself and was bedridden, and Graham Harper stepped in to finish off the episode. So there's some stuff here that he did with Martha Milligan and Doherty. He did most of that stuff. So that wraps up the last of the Time Lords. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time when the future becomes the present.
You've just listened to an episode of Who Knew?
Our wonderful theme music is by Michael Grady.
Find him on Facebook.
At The Universe Explodes.
All our episodes are engineered by our very own Auburn.
Find me at auburnbinkley.com.
You can find this show in several places.
Follow us on Twitter at Who Knew Podcast.
Subscribe, review, and listen to us on iTunes and Stitcher.
Or our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Who Knew Podcast.
All our episodes are on whoknewpodcast.com.
You can leave comments there or email us at
whoknewpodcast@gmail.com.
This podcast is inspired by Doctor Who.
The longest running sci-fi show in history.
And especially the revival spearheaded by Russell T. Davis.
thanks to Russell,
Sydney Newman.
Verity Lambert.
Ron Grainer.
And all those involved in the adventures of our favorite Time Lord.
Your work continues to inspire and entertain.
Unit Torchwood and others. I was thinking of Linda.
They were the first line to go.
The Toggle thing.
And now we wait for ice cream.
We have an ice cream truck going by, Josh.
Oh, there's a plane.
Oh, gosh.
Hold on, we have a plane.
Yeah, even I can hear that. It's going down.
No, don't say that.
Oh, the neighbors are doing construction.
Yeah, I heard that when I drove in.
I know, and it's like, no, we can't hear it in the house. That should be fine.
Ending.
Hold it to your
There's a motorcycle.
You guys, it's just my boyfriend, the Fonz.
You got a text. If you want, yeah, pause.
Pause for the plane.
Oh,
Let's pause that.
Okay, there's a siren. We're pausing.
Which isn't going away.
That must be close.
it's one of those days.
Yeah.
Probably one of the planes went down. Sorry.
Crash into the ice cream truck.
Just the quality of what we're saying just speaks for itself. We're offering you up gold.
I mean, case in point, you remember the Masters.
I did.
Yeah.
I still have never seen it
You don't need
in
to.
action. Okay, well, I don't
No,
know.
I forgot about it.
More
too.
of curiosity. so-
Because I have not seen it.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't want to be a killer. I don't think anyone
Right.
wants to be a killer except for, killers. But
Funny how that works. We'll edit this out. Oh,
Hysterical.
that's right. I'm totally wrong. Edit this out.
This is staying in.